I was looking at my iPad here this noon, and I see a thing in there. It says Benjamin Warnke and with 15 others, and it talked about Bob. Mr. Eisen, would you sit down? It talked about Mr. Warnke, his 74th birthday, and he's got, help me play a joke on my prankster dad, Bob Warnke, on his 74th birthday today. Post a fake memory on his page, whether you know him or not. He will be delightfully amused or confused. If you know Bob, he's likely made you chuckle. My mom and I just laughed watching him on TV this morning, proudly eating free donuts and going back for seconds while in the midst of the boring county board budget meeting. And yet he never ceases to amaze me, like swimming 74 speedy laps, birthday lengths at the YMCA. They got his picture on there, and graduating from college in 2013. So your family's thinking of you, Bob. But watch the donuts. But on their behalf, watch the donuts.
Human Service?
Yep, Human Services.
The chart of personnel for Human Services is on page 353. They're budgeted for 253 full-time employees and 25 part-time employees. That's an increase of 1 part-time employee from 2016.
Could you use that page number again? Sorry, Mark.
The chart of personnel is page 353. And the summary of significant changes is on page 394. And the Human Service Department in recent years has returned surpluses to the general fund, and I think all but one recent year. And so we were faced with another tough budget because of a low net new construction. So we asked the Human Service Department to follow a different standard than the other departments. The other departments were told to keep their budgets flat except for wage and benefit increases. We asked the Human Service Department to keep their budget flat, including the wage and benefit increases. So their levy remains, and I think this is the right figure, $18,073,000, the same as last year, despite the increases in health insurance and wages. And Bill Topol, Dr. Bill Topol, the Director of Human Services, is in the back of the room to explain any questions.
Okay, would you please punch in? We had to reset the computer box. Well, while they're resetting it, I have a question. How much money did they turn back last year? Every year we seem to turn back an awful lot of money. Are we still turning back an awful lot of money every year?
I think about $2 million was the surplus that went to the general fund from Human Services last year. And that's why they were asked to have a little stricter standard on absorbing all the wage and benefit increases without increasing their levy applied. So,
Supervisor Olson.
Thank you. You said they had to cut places in order to keep the levy the same?
right. In other words, they had to use cuts to offset all the wage and benefit increases. Part of it, though, is through changing the budgeting. Because they were consistently returning a surplus, they had to tighten up their budget. So I would not anticipate for them to generate a significant surplus this time. And their budgets are somewhat difficult to predict because the state settles accounts after the end of the year, and the amount of reimbursements they get can vary with the amount of money available to the state.
So, Bill, did you have to cut anywhere?
How we took care of getting it in line was in three areas. One area was labor. We always have a significant number of vacancies throughout the year, people leaving for other employment or retiring, and we have about a 2-month delay typically in rehiring people. And so what we did this time was we always have a surplus in labor based on those vacancies and lapses. And so what we did was we took $203,000 in the labor and salary line, and we're estimating that even with that, that we'll still be able to cover all of our labor and salary and fringe. So part of it's coming from there. Another part is coming from a situation with local hospitals where we are asking them to do their due diligence and making sure that people who are eligible for medical assistance actually get it. And it's something that we call presumptive eligibility. And because they do this, then medical assistants can pay for a number of their inpatient charges. Then we as a county don't have to make those payments. So we estimate saving about $287,000 there. And then finally, an area of revenue for us in Medicaid for our mentally ill is a service called Comprehensive Community Services. We're estimating that we will be able to generate an additional $205,000 for 2017. So with those three together, we're covering the cost of our labor, our salary and fringe for next year, and keeping the tax levy equal to the current year.
That sounds like a very productive way of doing it. Thanks.
Supervisor Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill, on page 364, I see a 3,200% increase in maintenance equipment. 8,250 bucks isn't a whole lot, but could you explain where that's coming from?
Okay, you're on page 364, and
Correct.
what line?
Line item 54022. Went from 250 in 2016 to 8,250 in 2017.
I'm being told that that's maintenance for our new scanners
Okay.
that is contributing to that.
All right, thank you.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Topol, I'm referencing on page 349 in the Behavioral Health Division. There is item number 5 states that there's an attempt to recruit full-time APNP. Would that be an adult protective nurse practitioner? Is that the correct?
No, the official title is Advanced Practice Nurse Prescriber. Those are nurses that are trained at the master's level to prescribe medication, similar to doctors.
Now, what is the difficulty? Because there's a couple times in the budget that you make reference to the need for that, but it'll be very helpful in avoiding placement of consumers in a facility and enable them to be either at home or in a local setting. Is that a highly skilled area that there aren't any people available, or are we not paying sufficient to attract that level of practice?
Well, it's a little bit of both. There is a very high demand for this type of practitioner. As you can imagine, they're now being utilized more in doctors' offices everywhere. And so there's just a very small number of these folks that get licensed every year. So we're competing with all the other health systems. But I have some really good news to announce that you brought it up, that we have been actively recruiting an APNP for, I think, the better part of 2 years. I'm looking at Mike Collar in the back because he's been actively working with us to try to help us find an advanced practice nurse prescriber. Just in the last month, we have interviewed 2, and we had a third one that's in training due to be out next May. We interviewed, of the 2 people we interviewed, the first candidate just accepted the position. So we are so fortunate to be able to have this person start in January. I can't announce who it is yet because we haven't finalized the paperwork, but we are very fortunate to have the very person we've been looking for 2 years. So we will be in good shape in 2017.
Thank you.
All those millions, I'm giving them a chance to look. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The Parkview Health Center, chart of personnel is on page 399. Parkview Health Center for 2017 is budgeted to have 215 full-time employees and 10 part-time employees. We still count employees at Parkview in a little different way than in other departments. But we've been consistent from year to year. And Parkview's levy for 2017 is $1,777,000. That's a decrease of $227,000 from the prior year. But part of that is that we're applying part of their reserves, which are exceeding our targets significantly. The director of Parkview is in the back of the room.
I have to commend her again because
Yes.
they're constantly getting good reviews throughout the state for nursing homes, so I think that's great. And she's maintaining the same degree of care that the other two did, so. Supervisor Schneider, or Binder.
I'd just like to comment on what good quality care they give. My cousin was there, and I can guarantee you, you're second to none. One of the best facilities. You've got good caring people that really go.
Thank you. I will share that with our staff. Thank you. That means a lot.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Marlia, could you bring us up to date on the nurse call system issue? It seemed to have been
Happy to.
very controversial situation.
Yes.
And of great concern to some of the supervisors who expressed their concern in a concerned fashion.
Sure. So you're probably all aware of the issues that we've been having with the system. It's been in the works for over 2 years now, and we thought we were making some gains this past spring. We had awarded the contract to a vendor who put in the lowest bid, and unfortunately they were unable to produce us with a performance bond. So we were unable to move forward with that contractor. So we are currently in the process of putting things out for rebid. We do have a couple of vendors who we are interested in looking at that we've contacted, and we're going to be putting this out for bid for people to put in their products for us, and we have some good options out there. So we're hoping in the next couple months here we'll be able to get that rolling again. I know it's been frustrating for everybody and us as well.
Supervisor Norton.
Thank you. Marley, could you elaborate more on Goal 4 on page 398 about what you're doing now for continue to develop staff recruitment, onboarding, and retention programs?
Sure. So one of our current challenges that we're facing is recruiting and retaining staff, particularly CNAs. I'm not sure if many of you have heard of the challenges that the healthcare industry has had in general with certified nursing assistants, but there just aren't enough out there to cover the demand for senior living as well as any healthcare facility in general. So what we're trying to do is, that's the overall root of the problem. It's bigger than what we are, but we're doing what we can on our level to make Parkview the facility of choice for these certified nursing assistants to work at. What can we do to circumvent the problems that the industry itself is facing and kind of spearhead those efforts to create performance or staff satisfaction levels that we can retain these staff, and that they don't want to look into not even other healthcare facilities but other entities like Costco and Starbucks, because the wages just are so similar. You know, why would you want to do CNA work unless you have that great passion to care for people when you can go work non-holidays, non-weekends for a similar wage? So long story short, we're just looking at programs and working very closely with HR and seeing what we can do to make our facility the employer of choice.
Supervisor Keller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the significant changes under private pay fees, you're showing a reduction of 259, 495. Says higher resident patient days projected. Are you getting more private pays versus Medicare or Medicaid, and why is that happening?
We're not seeing more of a population than the Medicare and Medicaid. It's just that population that we're seeing by us is growing than what we have seen previously. Why that is, it's unusual, as that's not the industry trend. You're seeing more of the Medicaid population, but that's just the population that we've been receiving over the past few years. But again, our still overall population is still like 70% Medicaid, so.
Is that possibly a indication that you got a good reputation and private pay patients want to come there?
I think so.
All right, thank you.
Supervisor Olson.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to the nurse calling system one more time and just ask a couple of questions. The first is, from the time that you rewarded that contract with that vendor, and what was the time gap between the time you rewarded that and the time you found out he couldn't have a performance bond?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Was it weeks, months?
I would say a couple months.
Couple months. Did we, in any way, shape, or form, have to pay him for anything before that?
No, we didn't.
So we don't have any financial obligations to this guy?
Nope, none.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Marlia, could you bring us up to date? A couple years ago, there were funds invested in expanding the operation of Parkview to service a rehabilitation operation. Could you bring us up to date on what's going on in that respect at this time?
Sure, I'm assuming you're talking about the therapy expansion, the therapy wing?
Correct.
Sure. So about 5 years ago, we added to our therapy gym. It's going wonderful. The residents who utilize that gym have nothing but great things to say about the rehab that they receive. Our rehab team is contracted in, so they're not our own staff. We did find that to be beneficial, though, as they are the experts in therapy. Our population, as far as short-term residents, is remaining pretty consistent. They're coming in, getting their rehab stays, and going home. We are seeing those stays just with the new regulations that are going out as far as healthcare-wise with bundled payments and Medicare wanting to see shorter stays. We're seeing more turnaround in that, so people aren't staying 100 days of their Medicare stay, they're staying 20 days. So we're seeing more admissions, but we're pretty much always full.
And is there a bottom line on that? Is it shown to be profitable? I know that the concern is, and much of the tax levy concern comes in respect to when people run out of money and they need, we get paid at the Medicaid level rather than at the commercial level, such as would apply to rehabilitation. Is there any overview or statistics that can describe a profitability or the status of that, financial status of that operation?
Well, the residents that come in for short-term, they are most of the time have a Medicare, just have a straight Medicare, which covers their short-term benefits, or they have a Medicare Advantage plan. That's not to say we don't accept residents who are coming in for short-term care that just have Medicaid funds. We never turn away anybody just because of a payer source. So we're always there. We're not looking at the payer source to accept or deny somebody an admission. We care for everybody. So no matter what their payer source is, we are accepting them for a rehab stay. As far as the profitability aspect, again, the Medicare and Medicare Advantage plans do most of the time, depending on medication costs, wound care costs, things like that, do produce a profit versus the Medicaid. I don't know if that answered your question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. UW Fox Valley, 413.
UW Fox Valley doesn't have any county employees. We're a co-sponsor of UW Fox Valley with Outagamie County, and we're responsible for capital projects and some ground maintenance work. So the actual operating budget is very small.
But we just gave them a tremendous amount of money for boilers and other stuff.
That's right,
I would have thought
for
somebody would have
capital.
been present here for this presentation. I guess I kind of find it
Yeah,
that nobody showed up.
but their
Whatever.
operating budget,
I don't want to explain it, that somebody should still be here, it's the most important part of their budget. Pardon? Try. That still won't help me any.
Well, I mean, it was really a miscommunication, I'll have to say, that the business manager out there is new. He is usually the one that would tell the dean that, hey, we have to go up here for this budget review. He's new. I forgot to tell him to expect to show up for this. I think Sue called him up, and he left me a message when I went back to my office for lunch that they're both committed for the next couple of days. So they couldn't be here. But he was new, and he didn't know that he needed to be here for that.
Pardon? Push your button, please. Go ahead.
I said I did not mention it to him either. I just thought it was being handled, so we didn't converse about presentation of the budget, so.
Well,
I
I just
apologize
mentioned
for
that
that.
because Outagamie County always follows us.
Right.
And it's kind of like a tag-in, so I wonder now how they'll do theirs, but whatever.
the,
Right. November 7th, it'll go into their board, right.
and I'll also point out that they, you know, the dean of the campus is now responsible for UW Fox Valley and UW Manitowoc as well. So that, and the same with the facilities manager, they're now responsible for 3 campuses. But we do invest a lot of capital in UW Fox Valley, and I'm proud of our investment there. But the operating budget is relatively small. It's $153,532 was what it was last year per county, and this year it's going down to $152,000. I think that's and $32, and that's on page 420.
420.
Supervisor Olson.
Thank you. I understand the need for capital outlays. What I don't understand is why it's not originally in the plan, and then 9 months later they come back and want $200,000 for a boiler. It just doesn't make any sense to me. They should be planning in their annual plan what capital outlays they're going to need, so they don't come back 9 months later and surprise us with this stuff. So that's just my editorial comment.
Supervisor Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That again, since Rich is so new, he hasn't had a chance to look over the capital outlay and the 5-year plan. That will be forthcoming, and I'm sure Chuck can weigh in on that also.
We do our capital budget separate from the operating budget. And all the departments submit capital project requests near the end of the year. I just sent out the instructions for that. They submit them, we put them into a 5-year plan schedule and publish a book probably in January sometime. So after that time, each of those departments that has a capital project scheduled for the current year will come before the board to get approval for those. So they're not part of the operating budget. And the UW Fox Valley one was in the 5-year capital plan. They were just following the procedure that we had laid out for them. If they run over budget and need more money, that's entirely different.
For the capital outlay for this year, we have kitchen cabinets and a library DX cooling unit, $67,000. Does that go into the 5-year?
No, the small capital items are part of the operating budget.
Okay, so
Only
this
the
would have
big
to come
ones
to
that-
the board for approval?
This one, if the board approves the budget, this one is approved.
Okay, thank you.
Parks, page 437.
The chart on employees for the Parks Department is on page 442. They're budgeted for 2017 for 7 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees, the same as last year. But that is, however, exclusive of the the seasonal workers that are used in the Parks Department. Their net levy is $1,279,000, and that's an increase of $16,500. The significant changes are on page 443 and 444, and Rob Way is in the back to answer any specific questions you might have.
Supervisor Norton.
Thank you. Rob, I don't see on the list of accomplishments that study that Trish knew from East Central Wisconsin Planning Commission did for her. What was the name of that study again?
It was a Trails Park economic impact. It wasn't put on because we're doing other phases to it, and eventually plan on presenting it to the county boards.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rob, could you update the board on the status, or perhaps the executive could, on the racetrack situation and Life Fest? It seems that there's planning in the budget for this transition. How is the day-to-day action progressing?
We submitted a revised one-year contract that went back to our last bargaining position. I think it's $22,500, which of course includes the utilities. Mm-hmm. So most of that money ends up going to outside providers, not to the county. They've asked for some minor changes. We've agreed to some and not to others. And I believe they're coming in, they both work full-time, so they come in after they're done with work. And we believe, we're hoping that they can come in on Thursday.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not been confirmed, but their response indicates that they're going to come in with some other requested changes. Mm-hmm. So we're working on it. I think we're close, but we're only doing a one-year contract, which keeps our options open.
And what about the progress with Life Fest?
Well, the two are tied together, but Rob, I'll let you.
Sure.
You probably get the most current.
It's fairly straightforward. They are currently still seeking a sponsor for that permanent stage. They have a good lead. They've expanded also the interest as far as the sponsors go. They're hoping for some results maybe in the next month or two.
Thank you.
Supervisor Olson.
Thank you. The capital outlay for this department, Chuck, is $180,000. Now, is that in the operating budget or is that in the capital outlay budget?
That is also in the operating.
That's in the operating budget. Okay. I have concern that we're putting the cart before the horse here. There seems to be a rush to tear everything down without any commitment yet from Life Fest. And, okay, we have the track for one more year, but what happens a year from now when they're no longer going to be able to use the track, and Life Fest, for whatever reason, hasn't yet found a sponsor for that stage. And I'm also concerned about Life Fest itself, that 3, 4, 5 years down the line, they're going to outgrow the fairgrounds because they're expanding very, very rapidly. And I would hate to tear something down that was a source of revenue, only to find out 5 years later that Life Fest is leaving too because they don't have the room.
That actually is the primary point of having them either build a permanent stage or for us to build a permanent stage and for them to rent it. If they get a sponsor that donates to build a permanent stage on our site, that will lock, and they'll also be signing a 10-year contract, I believe, with the board's approval. If they have a sponsor that provides a stage, that will lock them into that location for the long term. You know, they can't have a sponsor build them a stage and then leave quickly. And certainly other communities would like to lure them away, and their economic impact on the community is huge. With regard to Impact Motorsports, it is good to have the revenue. Certainly for years we've operated at a loss because we wanted to keep racing here. But the truth is, even with the new contract, it's not a net moneymaker for the county. It's actually a loss when we have Impact Motorsportsways operate there.
Thanks for clarifying that. So if it's not really a revenue generator, then it wouldn't really make any difference if we tear it down or not.
Well, if the space is not going to be used, if it turns out that we're not going ahead with a permanent stage, still would like to keep racing in Winnebago County. We always did hope to keep it as long as we could. But, you know, we've operated for over 10 years not receiving sufficient revenues to cover our costs.
And you also mentioned that if Life Fest couldn't find a sponsor, we would build the stage?
Well, there's two possibilities. They could build the stage, and then we would get use of it through contractual arrangements, because they'll be building the stage on land that we own. Or the alternative would be that the county would build the stage, but only if there was a significantly higher rental in that 10-year contract agreement. Either way, the cost of putting up and taking down a temporary stage, I think that ran about $150,000 a year, so that a permanent stage pays for itself very quickly. But I'll be honest, I think the major attraction to getting a permanent stage, especially one that's sponsored for them, is that it will help us retain them for the long term. And part of the reluctance, we believe they've identified sponsors that would like to invest in it, but they don't want to be pulled into the dispute with Impact Motorsports.
Now, if they end up finding a sponsor, who owns the stage? They do, or do we still own it?
Well, it's going to take some complicated contractual arrangements.
Okay.
And
The reason I'm asking this, Mark, is because how are we going to utilize that stage over the next other 51 weeks that they're not there?
yeah, we believe that we could conduct a few events per year, with each event bringing in a substantial amount of money, as well as using the stage for the fair. And some people would argue that we should use the stage more often if it's in there. But that would be on our land, and there would be contractual arrangements with regard to the county's usage of that stage. But the ownership of the stage has to be real if it's going to have any exceptions to some of the rules that we're under if we were to build it ourselves. The alternative would be that we would build it and lease it back to them, but it'll be more expensive for us to build it than for them to build it.
Right.
And we are not likely to receive the sponsorships.
And there might be, you said, the opportunity to have a few events during the course of the year to utilize that stage.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of events already going on in Oshkosh area, and so that's going to be pretty competitive to try to get somebody there. I hope we can do that.
And I'm pretty confident that we can, because once you have a permanent stage, you've got the bleachers, you've got the restrooms and concession areas that are already in there. It's a pretty impressive venue for an outdoor activity.
But we already have the amphitheater for that.
We do.
But that's I know that's not the
Yeah.
county, but
they probably will compete for different types of entertainment, and that's another reason why I'm not suggesting that there's going to be weekly events or anything like that, because, you know, undoubtedly we would want to avoid the same time period as Country USA and
Water
Rock
Fest. USA.
We wouldn't want to operate on nights that Life Fest is operating, and would probably look for slightly different types of entertainment, although I think we could attract a more current act to that venue than what Waterfest attracts. You know, Waterfest has a very middle-aged or older crowd.
hey. No, I understand. What is going to be the seating capacity once it's built?
You know, I'm not really sure, but you have a combination of seating capacities in the bleacher, but most events have the major crowd standing on the grounds in front of the stage. And certainly that's where Life Fest would expect most of its crowd, but there still would be a bleachers for those people that wanted to be further back and to be seating.
Okay, thank you very much for those answers.
Yeah.
Supervisor Farley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for my clarification, are we referring to the $101,000 in the capital improvements? Is that for the stage? Is that what you're
I'm
talking
assuming that's what these questions were, and that,
about? There's no reference to the page, but I believe that's what we're talking about.
yeah, Rob, you can probably...
180,000 is in the capital.
I have page 443.
But that's not for the stage itself, that's for some preparation on the grounds, and Rob can give you the
Yeah,
details on that.
180,000 is in, put in the capital.
Where's that at? What page?
457.
Okay, thank you. So the 101 is for a different purpose? Found on page 443.
That's the difference between the 2016 budget and the 2017 budget, $101,000.
Okay.
How much was in capital outlay in 2016 compared to 2017 is $101,000.
So the reference that we're discussing is on page 457,
Correct.
and that's,
180,000 something or other.
yeah, you had it all, 180,224.
And let me make a clarification. This is not the capital budget, as Chuck pointed out, but there are items that you expense rather than bonding for them or paying for them over time. Items with a relatively short life. Some of those are run through with the operating budget and treated as a current expense as opposed to being paid for over time. And that's what this type of item is. And Rob can tell
Correct.
you more. You can give them details on what that expenditure is for, but I think it's site preparation.
It is.
Supervisor Egan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a few questions here, and I don't think there's any money in for it. I'm not sure on 217 goals, work with Oshkosh Cycle Club in effort to create an off-road bike course within a remote 15-acre wood parcel situated along the east side of Walcott Dam property.
Yeah, that's primarily volunteer support with some in-house help with that.
Is that going to be where the nature preserve is now?
It's on the east slope of the Walcott Dam. It's a section that doesn't get used currently.
Okay, and then number 9, you got plan and execute 50th birthday celebration for the community park,
That's coming out of the advertising budget.
441. Okay, so then back on 440 then, while you're doing that 50th thing, are you going to put some money in to complete the planning for the installation of the arch, using the highway department resource to install the footage as well as to raise and skier? Because the parks department has gone ahead along with the Fair Association, and they've got that nice arch the parks department took care of getting for us, and there is that money being raised. I don't know if it's all going to be, but I know we're trying to put that in this year, and I see you got that in there, so I was just wondering if you put any money in to help get that arch raised.
We're hoping through fundraising again to do most of the building. We certainly have some in our grounds maintenance budget. Not to support the entire project, but we're hoping the fundraising will come along.
Well, that's my question. If we're going to start it, why do it halfway? I'd rather have enough money in there to finish and have the whole job done, and if we don't use it, go ahead and put it back just like all other departments. Thank you.
Supervisor Gabbard?
Rob, I need a clarification on this capital outlay for 2017. When is all this going to take place? The question being, if the racetrack is being used as a racetrack for one more year, are you doing any of these items before that contract is finished? Or I don't understand why this wouldn't go to 2018.
It's, of course, contingent on Life Fest getting a sponsor, but with the contract that we're signing, it does commit the county to a full year. So the earliest, if everything were to go through with Life Fest, would be October 15th or so, start on that.
And you would accomplish these things from then until the end of the year of 2017 then?
A majority of it would be done, the excavation. It would certainly not be finished. It would be probably a spring finish on it, but the majority of the work we're anticipating to be able to do the latter half of the year, or latter quarter of the year.
But we could postpone this until 2018 if we're going to do most of it in the spring.
Well, we're looking to benefit by just having it sit through the winter. A lot of it is excavation and base work. It'll do it good just to settle for the winter.
But it does hinge on whether LifeVest signs that contract, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Knitsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Harris, in regard to the LifeVest proposal with the grandstand, you mentioned 10-year lease a number of times.
Yes.
Is that a wish? Would that be mandatory with the agreement, or anybody else coming in?
That's what we've been looking for, is a 10-year lease. And, you know, they would probably get some small concession on our current lease rate if they're putting in the stage, and they would get a significant increase in the rate if we end up putting in a stage. But I think that was the plan, to do a 10-year lease. And haven't they been longer, not long, maybe not 10 years, but they've been more than 1-year leases in the past as well, haven't they?
Correct. About 5 is what we've averaged with them.
Yeah.
So would that be a wish, or would that be a criteria?
I think that's what's been discussed with them, and Rob can tell better than I can.
It is. We're
That's what's
currently
anticipated.
aiming at minimum of 10, if not longer.
Thank you.
Supervisor Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got to ask the question, with that money that's going to be put in to possibly take out the racetrack, and, okay, so if this budget is passed with that in, and say that LifeVest don't get it, if this budget's passed, you guys, or whoever, can still go ahead and use that money to take that racetrack out and say, well, they don't want to race there anymore. I know you're shaking your head no, but who knows going to be standing in that position?
Well, I think the Parks Director would have to answer to the board if they took out the racetrack without a commitment on the stage. And think of it the other way around. There's other possibilities. One is, if everything's going to go forward, they have to know that they have the money there to prepare the site. And 2, it's still possible that Impact Motorsports will reject the contract and won't agree to pay the $22,000. And if that's the case, then we would want to go ahead with preparing for the stage in the spring. So he certainly needs to have it in the budget if he wants to be able to bargain with LifeVest with any confidence of what will be allowed to happen going forward.
If Speed Zone don't sign the contract, are you going to open it up to anyone else? I don't want to get into that whole discussion, but is this a one-person thing and that it?
You know, this is, coming off the top of my head. But my thought is that if there are other parties that have now expressed interest in the racing, but if we're really only doing it for 1 year, I think we would be better off if Impact Motorsports doesn't want to go forward, then moving ahead with the site preparation for LifeVest, rather than trying to bring somebody in. And I think one of the chilling factors, one of the things that's chilling sponsors on the LifeVest stage, is that they don't want to be associated with the end of the racetrack. Anyone that would sponsor the stage is looking for favorable recognition for their investment in LifeVest. And the controversy over Impact Motorsports and the use of the site is probably having a real chilling effect on lining up those sponsors.
Thank you.
Supervisor Warnke.
Rob, I'm kind of curious, is there been any talk, or are you thinking of changing your rules as far as people bringing their pets into the park? I know the city of Oshkosh has done it, and I mean, I was recently in Boston, and the most historic parks in the world there, they allow them to bring their dogs in as long as they conform to the rules. And I would like to see this happen. Is there anything that's going on where you would think about doing this?
Certainly, requests have come to the office for us to start considering that. I'm reluctant because of how the shared use path is playing out. It has been quite an asset to have out there in a number of ways. It's everything that we said it was going to be as far as a new resource for exercise, for recreational activity. As a matter of fact, we have some programming that we're trying to work with the school district on. So when you put that type of activity on there as a theme, you're either walking or biking. And I'm not a real proponent of introducing pets, dogs, onto a path that's narrow enough when you're trying to get that type of activity. And now we do offer the trail. I mean, the Wawash Trail is no more than a mile and a half away, and that is open for pets on leash.
Well,
so I think we offer a good substitute for that.
But you just completed, I think it was over a $2 million project for handicap accessible things, and I think this would be a good thing, and I would like to see it considered. There certainly wasn't any problem in Boston, and there was lots of people around, and I think it could work here, and it's certainly going to work in Oshkosh, and it's going to keep the geese away, that's for sure. So I was just wondering about it.
The geese make more of a mess than any dog. Supervisor Olson.
That's for sure. Not to beat this to death, but I need to ask one more question. What if, are you willing to accept any commitment from LifeVist that is less than 10 years?
I think we'd have to look at that at the time, but our intention is to get a long-term commitment, and that would probably be their intention as well, because if they line up sponsors to build a stage, they're not going to want us contracting with somebody else for their time slot, and they're going to want a long-term contract as well as we would.
Are you going to be able to accommodate their projected growth?
Well, part of moving them into the area within the stands is that frees up all the space that had been used for the temporary stage and for an audience to stand in front of the stage. That actually frees that up to provide additional camping.
Is there other places in the park that could be used for additional camping if needed?
I think
Mark, if I can address it, as things play out, with an average of about 2.5 acres per year, it's approximately 120 campsites. If you project that out, we can accommodate that into the 10-year, even 12 years with just the expo property. We have some undeveloped property towards the northeast end of it that we'll be doing for the next 2 years. Yeah, and then when you play in where the stage is now, another 5 acres, another 5 acres in the pit area. So when that plays out, probably at least 10 years, if not 12.
Okay, thank you. Because I would be concerned if I were them if there wouldn't be any room for expansion. Thank you.
I'll just comment that your questions are well placed, because when I was first elected county executive, Country USA was right at that point. And they wanted us to look into possibilities of expanding for their benefit so they could stay, because they were happy with us, but they just needed more space. And when we looked at it, we really didn't have the opportunity to expand in a way that would serve their needs. So the next best thing we could do is help them look for opportunities to stay in the county, because sometimes these things are disruptive to our year-round population, but they are huge economic impacts.
Register of Deeds 460.
The chart of employment for the Register of Deeds is on page 463. They're budgeted for 7 full-time employees, the same as they were budgeted for 2016. And Chris Larson is in the back of the room. He's the acting Register of Deed. And their budget, they generally generate more in revenue than they have in expenses. So they're actually a profit center for the county. And they're projecting to have an increase in the amount of profits that they generate. And if you have any specific questions, you can direct them to Chris Larson in the back of the room.
Supervisor Knitsky.
Mr. Larson, in regard to preservation, now there's gotta be some, I know you're putting stuff on film more and more. In regard to an official document that you would know it, an official old-time original, something along that line, I would hope you would try to preserve those, and if you do, who makes the call on that?
Okay, you're saying if the majority of the documents, well, I shouldn't say the majority, but about 60% of the documents we record today are on paper. About 40% are electronically recorded, which means we never see the paper copy. But are you talking about older documents, the possibility of destroying those eventually? Is that your concern?
Yes, I would hope, for posterity's sakes, that you would save them the best to your ability.
Yes, to the best of our ability. We have currently about, I would say, half of our documents, which are all scanned digitally. We still have the paper copies, half on site and half at a remote site. And before, we have no immediate plans to get rid of them, as long as there's room for them. And even if the time came where we had to consider it, we would first have to contact the State Historical Society, and chances are they would take them, so the original document would be preserved. But right now, even though everything's scanned, we don't want to relinquish those, because once in a great while there'll be a page missing or that didn't get scanned right, and we want to be able to retrieve the original.
So you would know when you ran into that, you would know what to reserve?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Planning, tax lister, land records modernization, page 469.
The chart of employees for planning and zoning is on page 473, and they're budgeted for 14 full-time employees in 2017, the same as 2016, and the tax levy is $755,000, an increase of $18.5 thousand. The summary of significant changes is on page 475. And Jerry Bougie is in the back of the room to take any questions.
Land water conservation, page 494.
Did you want to do property lister?
That's all part of his.
Okay.
Land water. Supervisor Powers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at page 497, the 2017 goals and objectives. Number one says to secure $400,000 in funding sources. Where is it you're planning on looking for these funding sources?
They operate with a lot of state grants for their environmental projects, and Tom Davies is in the back of the room, can take your questions. But let me inject real quickly that Land and Water Conservation is budgeted for 7 full-time employees, the same as 2016, and their significant changes are on page 499. And as I said, Tom Davies is in the back of the room and can address your questions.
Thank you.
The 400,000 is a number that we typically try and request from the state, and that is combined with the cost share dollars that we use for putting the practices in. We're able to cost share with a landowner 70% of the cost to put conservation practices on their farm or on their land. And then also we request a certain amount. This year we got $142,000 for staff to implement the state ag performance standards and the other programs that are state required that the county has to administer, like farmland preservation program, wildlife damage, those type of things.
Okay, thank you.
So we don't always get everything we ask for,
Right.
but
Thank you. She's passing around more stuff.
Solid waste, page 560.
Yeah, and their chart of employees is on page 564. They're increasing by 2 full-time employees from 14 in 2016 to 16 employees in 2017. They're not on the levy. They're funded largely from tipping fees and other revenues. And the solid waste director is in the back of the room to take your questions.
I think they need one in the back corner, Julie. Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Robbie, could you bring the board up to date on the planning and design and the going forward with the Ken Roble Conservancy?
Sure. We have included $1,150,000 in the capital improvement portion of the 2017 budget to continue with the engineering and construction of the Ken Roble Conservation Park at the Snell Road landfill. So later this year we'll be picking that project back up and doing more design work, costing, figuring out exactly what programming efforts we want to do there, working with the Parks Department, and then hopefully being able to start some construction in 2017.
Supervisor Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a good opportunity to ask a couple of questions. What is the current tipping fee?
The current tipping fee is the gate rate is $41 a ton, and this 2017 budget does include a $1 increase in that number
To 42.
$42 a ton.
And do you anticipate these tipping fees to continually increase?
I do. One of the things that our solid waste board wanted to do when we transitioned from being the regional landfill in 2012 to running a transfer station operation was to not have large increases in any one year, so the municipalities would be able to budget for those increases accordingly. So we've been looking at small increases of $1 or $2 a year since that time, and we would envision that moving forward.
Okay, that's certainly appreciated by the towns. One other question, and it's a little more hypothetical. We all know we have is it tri-county agreement with Outagamie County?
Yes.
And I don't know the expiration date of that agreement.
The expiration date with the Tri-County agreement was 25 years, or whenever the airspace from the Brown County South landfill was used. We have about 5 more years of life at Outagamie, and then 8 to 10 years at Brown County. So we're looking 13 to 15 years out from now.
Now, given the planning for this type of an operation, and this is a very important question, are you seeking a new landfill site property within Winnebago County? Are you looking at something, aware of something?
Well,
can you answer that question publicly?
The Solid Waste Board is looking at options for beyond the original 25-year agreement. You know, when the 3 counties all got together, we all had similar amounts of airspace to put into the pool to make it 25 years. After 2012, when we filled up our landfill, that airspace is used, and right now we don't have any permitted airspace anywhere. So that's one thing we're going to have to look at, whether it's in Winnebago County or looking at some expansions at the Outagamie and Brown County sites. So that's something the board is evaluating and will continue to evaluate as we plan moving forward.
I appreciate a very general answer, but can you state publicly whether you're looking at a site in Winnebago County? Either now or in the future.
I can't speak on that at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Part of that would be controlled by any new BOW agreement. You know, if you would also need a new agreement to determine if the 3 counties are going to continue to work together and rotate among them for landfilling.
Right.
So the nature of that agreement would probably affect what our plans were going forward. But whether you're with a group or alone, you eventually need more landfill space. And that could be either within any of the 3 counties or could be in nearby areas. You know, it just has to be a reasonable distance to make it cost efficient.
Well, the town of Inland is very concerned about the direction that the county might be taking. That prompts my question.
I can tell you that I'm completely unaware of any current efforts to find a specific site, but at some point, somewhere in the 3-county area or an adjacent area, there would have to be a new site.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Gordon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was curious with the conservation part, how, because you have that landfill gas collection system,
Correct.
how do you integrate a park with that system?
Well, we're trying, right now, the original phase of the park that we're talking about is outside the footprint area of the landfill hills, so we're kind of designating areas outside where these gas wells are, where we have to monitor and maintain, so, at this point, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Knitsky?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Robbie, my question also is along that line. On page 573, capital outlay, Ken Ruble Conservation Park improvements, $1.150 million. Is there a conceptual drawing, or did I miss it? What is it? Where does that number come from?
Well, our board has been working over the past year on identifying options at the Snell Road site. So we have some kind of conceptualized drawings of a phase 1 area and a phase 2 area. And some of the preliminary costing that we got from our park planning consultant put the estimates for what our initial thoughts were at about $1 million with $150,000 in engineering. So that's where we came up with that number to use for the 2017 budget. Now we'll continue to evaluate that and fine tune the design and the cost estimate, and then our solid waste board would have to act on any kind of contract for that work.
Can I add that the fees to reclaim the sites would come out of the reserves, they wouldn't come out of our
That's correct.
levy. And I think there's actually a requirement for you to have a plan, long-term plans for the sites when they're complete, isn't there?
There is a requirement from the DNR to have some sort of long-term end-use plan. Maybe not this detailed as what we've chosen to do, but yes.
Would you like to, I would like to have you share some of those plans with us. They may be conceptual, but I'm curious.
We certainly can at some point in time give a presentation on some of the ideas that we're thinking about for that development, certainly.
Nothing now?
Not with me today.
My memory or?
Well, I mean, it's essentially areas outside of the footprint of the landfill, kind of around a surface water diversion pond, looking at walking trails, maybe some piers with some fishing areas, maybe a group campsite and education center. So that's kind of what we're looking at the initial stages. So.
Thank you.
Supervisor Bender.
I was just curious in the future if it would be possible to take small amounts of concrete. I went there the other day, I had like 80 pounds of concrete, and I had to drive it to Outagamie County to get rid of it. I mean, even if you had to charge me $5 or $6, whatever your minimum is, it would have been surely worth it to me than drive all the way to Outagamie County to get rid of 80 pounds of concrete. Would it be possible to take small amounts in the future?
Well, I guess part of us running a transfer station involves taking materials, unloading them on a tipping floor, and then loading them into semis. And concrete, heavy debris is not the most conducive for loading into semi trucks. So, unfortunately, that's not something that we consider.
Haven't in the past, you put it in a sludge cell?
Well, the sludge cell is actually working on finalizing filling here in the next month or so. By the end of the year, it's going to be, the airspace is going to be used and it's going to be closed. So we kind of wanted to start kind of the phasing out of that program, and that's why we implemented that earlier this year.
So in other words, you couldn't even charge, say, $75 a ton and basically make money at it or break even and save the person from running all the way to Outagamie County?
That's certainly something we could look at. We don't get a whole lot of contractors that are looking to get rid of concrete.
I took 2 posts out of my yard. It wasn't like I'm a contractor, but if you took a basketball hoop down, you could not take it to our landfill. You'd have to drive that basketball hoop to Outagamie County to get rid of 50 pounds of concrete.
I guess it's just something we'll have to look at. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
That part of your job is done, and I think you did a very good job of putting this together, and we want to thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go on, we'll take a 2-minute break and go on to our amendments.
I know. Well, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, they rent the land?
Well,
The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Winnebago County Board is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly.
Should be here in a minute. Okay, that, we'll we'll start anyways, even though that other resolution isn't here yet. But amendment number 1, defund, discontinue funding of Northeast Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. Supervisor Fari. Guy Haig brought this in, but he's not here, so I'm
Thank you,
just
Mr.
asking him
Chairman.
to bring it in.
I told Guy that I would support this, and it is with great reluctance. Let me explain this. I think Eric Fowle did a exemplary job of coming to our Land Conservation Committee and explaining to us what he could do to support the Lakes Coordinator position. This is very complicated stuff, I understand, but he felt strongly they could do it. Unfortunately, the commissioners of East Central, and I can almost name the people and from other counties that staunchly did not support that. And of course, as you know, we still don't have the 3-county agreement that we've been waiting for all afternoon here. So I mean, how can we continue to support a planning organization that refused to take up the request of Winnebago County to do planning? I just find that very troubling. So I don't know what Mr. Haig's explanation will be, but in his absence, can I do this, Mr. Chairman, bring it in? I will bring it in. I really think it's time that we at least scold East Central severely here. So I'll bring it in. I'll move for approval.
Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded. Supervisor Shirk.
You know, for 3 decades, regionalization has been the watchword of government as we've tried to do more with less. I don't know personally about this Lakes Coordinator position, but I do know that East Central has done good work on a variety of other things. And for that reason, I'm not going to support this.
Okay. Supervisor Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I agree with the sentiment of Mr. Supervisor Schreck. You just heard, I asked Rob Way, they've done work for the parks twice. First with the outdoor recreational study, presently engaging with a study about impact on tourism and travel. I know that they help local communities, City of Oshkosh, with their transportation studies and their planning of the growth in the city and that. They are available for every one of the municipalities. Like I say, I'm not totally familiar with this. We have representation on that board. I think that board should pursue it harder, and I think this is petty in what Mr. Haig and Chuck Farr are proposing. If you want to punish them, maybe deduct them, but not totally defund them. So I would definitely urge you to vote against this.
I don't know so much if he can just take the funding away. I think that Mr. Bodner would have to get the indication that we wanted to stop dealing with them, or however it has to be done. But I think there's something in there that the Corporation Council would have to end up dissolving it. But Supervisor Olson.
Mr. County Board Chairman, are you not on the board?
Yes.
Of this?
Yes.
What would the ramifications be if we did this?
Well, I'm going to support it. I'm going to support that, not to go along with it. I mean, I'm going to support not to fund it.
Okay, and so if we don't fund it, then I'm just questioning what the ramifications would be. And what you're saying then is, we
Well,
don't think that that what we're paying into this, there's enough value to continue working with them.
No, because we have our own planning and zoning department. They were right here. They do the same thing as our planning and zoning. I see some of the members from planning and zoning shaking their head, yes.
Okay.
We have our own planning and zoning department that does this.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Gabbard.
Okay, so every year we try this, and I'm upset because I was at that land and water meeting where Eric Fowle did a presentation, plus he told me twice in person that they could handle the Lakes Coordinator position. We didn't need to fund it for the $15,000 that it was. So I felt really encouraged that East Central would finally do something for me, because I know that you guys say they do things, but We do have an excellent planning and zoning department that can handle this. So here's the other scenario. Ramifications, I don't know, but I know Fond du Lac was in, got out, and then came back in. But the time that Fond du Lac County was out of East Central was still doing things for Fond du Lac County. Wapaka County was not in, and they were doing things for Wapaka County. So I don't think it's a, you get out, we don't do anything for you, because we have two references where they still did things for the county. I understand they've done some good things, but this Lakes Coordinator thing really got my dander up, because we still don't have one. Now we're back in the budget where we've got $20,000 in for a Lakes Coordinator, and a year later, we didn't get that from East Central. So I was very discouraged about that. So that's why I'm going to vote for this amendment, because I just think it's time to say, you aren't doing that much for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Rasmussen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know much about this Lakes Coordinator thing. It seems to me, from what I'm hearing, that cooler heads could prevail and something could get worked out. And I don't know that how much they do for us specifically as a county board, but as a town board member, I can assure you they do a lot for the municipalities. There's a lot of funding and grant opportunities. There's a lot of studies they do, and that's for any municipality in this county, cities and townships, so that affects every one of us. If we all go along and if every county says, well, we're going to punish them for one little thing they didn't do, they wouldn't exist. And believe me, we would lose a lot of opportunities. Our township just contracted with them for some things that you would pay a lot more money for to have some consultant do. There's just a lot of things that they do for us that are behind the scenes, so I won't support this resolution.
Supervisor Rule.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I request that you recognize the finance director to clean up some language.
Okay. Well,
Line 17, there is no such thing as a miscellaneous operating grants payments fund balance. Do you wish that the fund balance applied be reduced to offset this reduction in the expenses? That would be my recommendation. Right now we have roughly $2 million of general fund balance being applied to balance the budget. If you cut this expense, just reduce the amount of general fund balance being applied. Let's just change that line to that.
You want me to address that, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Certainly, I think that would be the appropriate thing to do. Thank you.
I mean, your other alternative would be to reduce the levy, but I wouldn't recommend that
No,
because
no,
of the
I'm
levy
not- we're not
limit. You need to
suggesting
stay close to the limit.
Yeah, we're
So
not
reduce,
suggesting
a decrease in general fund balance applied would be the correct language there.
Is that acceptable to the body and second?
and then also, it's on amendment number 1, it's not northeast, it's just east Wisconsin.
East Central.
Or east central, I'm sorry. Supervisor Robel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Mr. Rasmussen. I won't support this.
Supervisor Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I live a block away from East Central's building. I know most of the people in the building as neighbors and as people who anytime I have any kind of a problem, I can go to. I was floored when I saw this, but I think if it's something that somebody has such a very good, deep feeling about, there certainly should be more in here that we should know about. But I just feel that this is kind of a tempest in a teapot, and somebody is just talking about something that they really don't know a whole lot about. If you look at the way they've cleaned things up and worked on the trestle trail and all the different things that they've helped and worked with, and I've been to a lot of their meetings being that close to them. I mean, they've even given me some of their books so that I could look up things that I could take home and look at them and bring them back again. Like I said, I'm a block away. But I'm not in favor of this amendment at all.
Supervisor Powers.
My question
because I don't know very much at all, I mean, maybe nothing about this Northeast Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. Do they plan anything having to do with waters and water usage? And because as a Great Lakes state, if there's anything going on that is impacting our waterways, I think it's important, but I don't know what they do.
Well, I think we just, our planning department does what other smaller counties and other counties, they do what our planning department does. That's the type of things they do, planning.
So this is about water, does impact waterways?
Well, this, I guess I'd have to have Mr. Fari from Land Water address it again.
I'm not sure how to answer your question. East Central does many things, and but the overall summary of their responsibility is to do planning. Now, the specific issue we're talking about when we talk about Lakes Coordinator and these other terms is in reference to a 1989 Lake Winnebago management plan. That plan needs to be updated. That requires what they use the term Lakes Coordinator to update that. So the focus is to get that done. The whole issue becomes the process to achieve that goal. And we asked East Central to do that planning for us. They chose not to do that. They chose to go a different route. It's, you know, we pay them over $200,000 a year. It was very disheartening for them to take a position of, well, we're not going to pursue that plan. In cooperation with land conservation committees, the weigh-in on the Water Steering Committee, which is a bunch of employees that have banded together. So this is the major disappointment. I don't want to take away from the work they do. They do good work. But when you refuse to do a request, a resolution from this county board that almost passed unanimously, I find that to be a little disheartening. So the question is, how do we make that planning commission aware of our serious concerns, assuming you agree with those concerns? I'm told we can't reduce our budget. We can't say, well, we're going to cut some of your funding. What's your option? So you either put up with it and shut up, take whatever they decide, you know, ill-advised to do, or you take an action and say, you know, if you're not going to help support our county initiative, then perhaps we shouldn't support you. That's the basic fundamental question.
And then they could always come back a year from now and say, here's what we plan to do, and it does encompass the things that you'd like to see happen. Is that right? They could come back later?
Oh, absolutely, ma'am. Okay. My opinion, this board has multiple options, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Keller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Supervisor Rasmussen on this issue. I also am a member of a town board, and East Central Wisconsin has helped us in a number of different ways. They actually did a service for us because Winnebago County is a member of East Central Wisconsin. They do the services for towns. In my case, it was for free, and it was consulting on a sign planning project, but they put a lot of work into it. They also, I'm aware of the fact that it's, at least I'm told, that because of East Central, they were able to attain a $2 million grant from the state to help us develop the aviation industrial park. So I certainly wouldn't want that to go away. To punish them for doing one thing that we asked them to do and they refused to do it, I think is the wrong way to go. I would like to know why they refused it. We would maybe give them a chance to tell us why they refused it, and we could address that. But I don't think we should just opt out because of one thing. Thank you.
Supervisor Singstock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amendment number 4 answers my question.
Supervisor Wingman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a problem with line 6. You got the wrong name on there. Not very prudent. I have a problem with line 17 where you don't have the right offset citation. I have a problem with line 21. The author of this amendment, just as last year, submits a budget amendment and doesn't show up to defend it. When asked, we don't know, we're told we're not really sure what this agency does. We like it, but don't like what it does. Therefore, I think that this is unwise to proceed, and I move to table this indefinitely.
Can they do that at our budget process?
Yes. Why not?
It has to be seconded. It's not
It was.
debatable, it's not amendable. I don't see why they can't do it, but, you know, I mean, you're really talking about the budget process. Either, you know, you're really talking about the budget process here as far as laying something on the table. I mean, it would seem more prudent, either you vote it up or vote it down. You don't lay it on the table. You lay it on the table, it could be brought back at some other time. Which really kind of makes a mess of your budget process if you do that. I don't think you want something being brought back in May after you've passed the budget. So my answer is, yeah, you can do it, but it's going to create some difficulties later on, or could create difficulties later on.
I don't want to create difficulties, but I just want to get rid of it.
Well, then vote to defeat it.
Okay, I withdraw the whatever, the motion. Yeah.
It is withdrawn. Supervisor Egan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am also on the town board, which also used East Central Planning. But I'm going to support this, and I'll tell you why, because we're here today as Winnebago County supervisors. And we talked about this the last few years. As a matter of fact, a resolution come, I believe it was last year, to eliminate this. And someone, I don't know if you want to say, let them know or whatever, but all of a sudden Eric Fowler was down here and talked to us and talked us back into staying with them. If you all remember that. Otherwise, we could have voted the other way last year. So I'm going to support this as a Winnebago County supervisor. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Barker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did anybody on our group here actually sit down with some of the officers of East Central Planning and talk about this? I hear this said, I don't know this, I don't know that, I didn't talk to this, I didn't hear that. Did anybody actually, we don't do business like that. We talk to where the trouble is and try to straighten it out. We just don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I've had nothing but good things that happen through East Central, and not just because they are a block away from me. But I surely think it's, like I said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that's what we seem to be doing here, saying we really don't know why we're ticked off, but we're ticked off, so let's just get rid of the whole thing. And if you look at the beautiful building, the books, the answers they give you, whatever you want, you know that they're there to help you. And they may have had a bad day, whoever talked to who, I don't know. I'm not a part of that, what we're talking about. But think twice before you throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Supervisor Egan? Or Eisen, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now,
You're welcome.
I'm under the impression that Eric Fowle, Director of East Central Wisconsin Planning Commission, presented and encouraged us to go forward with their processing it. Now, he is responsible to a board of the commission, which is made up of representatives of the 15 counties that are in the region. Now, if it was the 15 counties that decided that they don't want to do the project, then it's not anything to do with the employees of the commission. Now, I would like to submit an amendment, because we're not mad at East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission were mad because they wouldn't do the job that we wanted them, requested them to do. So why don't we amend this amendment by saying that somewhere on line 14 or line 15, unless they agree to perform the Lake Winnebago lake study. So if they don't want to do the study, then we can withdraw the money. If they do the study, we don't have a bone with them, because we've had accolades on the good work that they do, and they continue to do. They work with transportation studies, they work with economic studies, they work with land use studies. They're the planning department for the smaller counties that can't have a professional staff that we can. And they contribute to the regional process. So I submitted an amendment that would withdraw the funding unless they agree to perform the Lake Winnebago County study.
You know,
That's
this again, it
basically
goes
what we
back to
wanna
the
do.
budget. It's either in the budget or it's not in the budget. I mean, if you're going to put a contingency on it, then we have to leave it in the budget. Is it in the budget or out of the budget? You can forbid the county to pay it later on if you don't get what you want, but, you know, we have to set a levy and you know, send out tax bills, so it's in or it's out.
Supervisor Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had rung in when Mr. Wingren submitted his motion, and I guess it's no longer on the table. So I will not comment.
Supervisor Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say that I will not support this amendment because of hearing from all of the town chairs and how much benefit they get. They're part of this county, and as the county board, we are charged with making this the best place to live. Those towns are part of this county as well. So you may have a beef about the Lake Winnebago thing, but our job is to make this county the best. And I think in the support that they're providing to the towns, we should continue our support. Thank you.
Supervisor Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also will not be supporting this because of town circumstances. And also, I was the only supervisor at the lake management update down in Fond du Lac about 3 weeks ago. And I heard the presentation by the Foxwolf watershed person, and I'll tell you what, they've been involved and deeply involved since 2004, and they are equipped and ready to do a good job in heading this up. And I'm not sure East Central can devote the same, if nothing else, exuberance to this project. And I vehemently object to this amendment as it stands and will not vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Smith.
I move to call the question, Mr. Chairman.
You were the last one lit, so you're...
Just in case anybody else can.
We'll vote aye or vote no.
Let me. Oops. Got to get logged in.
Oh, Larry? Okay. There you go. Sorry, I'll just unmake him present. Everybody else?
I think that's it.
Okay.
That has failed. Amendment number 2, add $9,995 to the Airport Capital Outlay Fund for the purchase of a batwing mowers. Supervisor Warnke.
I brought this back in because I wanted to explain the process that I believe in. And I guess where I should start is when I went to the budget meeting with Peter Mall to discuss the airport budget. We originally had 2 mowers in there, and there was some travel money also in there. And the county executive asked us if we could withdraw one of the mowers and the travel expense, and Peter Mall did agree to do that. Now, also, you know, this county board is structured under the committee to structure, and our new director of operations, Peter Roche, asked for this more, and it came to the aviation committee. It was voted in favor 5-0. We have an aviation park that's being built out there where we could really use this more, and I would like to see it put back in. You know, we're talking $10,000 here. And when you compare it to some of the stuff that this board has done in the last year, this is a drop in the bucket. You know, I hate to keep bringing this up, but you got the pickleball court for $86,000. We just gave water to the dogs out at the dog park so that the people don't have to carry it in. We give tons of money to UW Fox. And we also support the tennis courts out there, which I don't think has a whole lot of use, but that's no problem. And I'm not arguing against these things. I voted for them. But we're asking for a lawnmower, $10,000. And, you know, there was a comment was made by a supervisor, let them do it by hand. Well, that to me is not a good thing to say. You know, in other words, let's let them really work for it, and let them put the hours in, which we're going to waste. It's going to take more time to do it by hand than anything. So I'm hoping that you will pass this and that we can move on.
Okay, there are no more. Supervisor Keller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at this amendment here, and I think it's a little bit too specific. I think I would like to, because, you know, there seemed to be some discussion previously about what type of mower should be bought. Not necessarily that they have an ailing mower that needs to be replaced, but there was some concern about the type that was going to be purchased. So I would like to make this just a little bit more in the hands of the director to decide what type of equipment he wants. He needs equipment. He's saying he needs equipment. Supervisor Warnke just indicated that, you know, it's ridiculous to expect him to do it by hand. It's probably just as ridiculous to expect him to do it with an ailing piece of equipment. So I think we hire directors to run their areas and their departments and their businesses, you know, the way they feel is most efficient. Unless we don't like it, then we don't give them any money. But in this case, I would like to change, or I'd like to make an amendment to the motion and change line 7, where it says batwing mower, which people seem to have a problem with, and change that to replacement mower, because they're trying to replace an ailing mower. On line 15, I would also like to change the word batwing to replacement mower. So we can allow our department head to purchase equipment that they feel they need to purchase to replace ailing equipment. That's my motion.
It was moved and second to change it. Supervisor Rasmussen on changing the name.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We can change that, but they'll just go out and buy a batwing anyways. So it doesn't change the resolution or the amendment that's brought to us.
Okay, we'll try this. All in favor of Mr. Keller's amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? No. It's changed. Now back to the resolution to purchasing a mower. Supervisor Singstad.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand the intent, and it's meant well, but there's another little problem here then. This particular mower, the original price was $16,000, and we're getting it for about $9,000. So that makes it a little more complex, just by trying to change the name, what type of mower you're going to get. Because like Chuck says, you're going to have a certain number of dollars. Are you going to put $16,000 into the budget, or are you going to put $9,000 into the budget?
We're putting
And
$9,000.
$9,000 may not pay for the type of mower that they might want. So, I mean, it makes it a little more complex. All right, fine.
Supervisor Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason I've seen that Okay. The reason I was against this is not because of the 10,000 or if they need a replacement mower, I don't have a problem with that. My problem with the original one was the reasons for it. And the reasons I spoke clearly on, I think, a month ago whenever this was on the floor, and it was defeated by a pretty good amount. The reason, number one, was that it had to follow the contours of the ground. Well, as I said then, I have to repeat myself here because it came up again. We used to have batwing mowers at the highway department decades ago. Got rid of those decades ago for ditch mowing. And you're not going to find any more contours than what that is. The flail mowers work just fine. Then the other reason was because there was saplings out there. Well, to refer back to ditch mowing, the DOT, the state, 10 or so more years ago, 10, 15 years ago, decided they didn't want to mow back the roads anymore, the state roads. And if any of you notice that, when you're traveling down state roads, all the back slopes have trees and saplings and bushes and everything else growing. Now when they come back someday and want to clean all that out, which will need to be done, these flail mowers won't be able to do that. Back before this rule, and what we still do on the county roads, is mow them once a year. And if you mow them once a year with a flail mower, it will cut down anything that grows every year. And that's my point, is you have an initial mowing to be done to take some saplings down. I haven't seen the area, I don't know how many there are. My point was, if there's a few saplings out there, yes, go cut them by hand. That's what we did at the highway department. We'd send guys out and cut those things by hand. If there's a lot of them and it needs to be mowed one time, go rent a batwing mower, mow them down. Then you've got, I heard this morning that they've got flail mowers there. That's what they use for everything else. Once you mow it down once and get them cut once, that flail mower, you could mow that area once a year and it would take care of it. So I just don't see the need for this batwing mower based on the reasons they gave us. That's my opposition for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think taking the fact that we've taken the name Batwing out of the amendment and just called replacement doesn't mean it can't be a Batwing mower that replaces a mower, but it also doesn't mean that it has to be a Batwing. So we've already said that we have to trust our department heads to know what's best for their departments, and if a flailing mower, is that what you called it? If that's the best one to get, they'll make that decision, and if the Batwing is the right one to get, they'll make that decision. But the mowers they have now, because I had asked, are the mowers any good? Can we sell them if we get this new one? And they said no. It's not, he said it's not worth selling. They're out of date and out of use. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Supervisor Roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that Supervisor Keller's amendment to cross out Batwing and put replacement was defeated.
No. Passed.
Thank you.
All in favor of the amendment, I'm saying we're doing it on the whole thing now. Huh? All right, we'll do it by your iPad. We voted on the amendment already. We're voted on the amended amendment. So what's the matter? That is passed. Amendment number 3, increase Highway Department repairs and maintenance fund by $50,000 for parking lot maintenance. Supervisor Bender.
Years ago, when John Hayes was there, he had the parking lot maintenance, but there was never no funding in it, and nothing got done. Then they switched it over to the maintenance department, and once again, there's never no funding in it, so nothing got done. Now they're switching it back to Mr. Winter's budget, and there's no funding in it unless we add the $50,000. And if you look on your budget book, on page 419, Fox Valley Tech's got $24,000 to maintain their parking lots. We have a whole county, and I'm only asking for $50,000 to get this started. But you can either replace asphalt or maintain it. It's your choice. But one's going to cost you twice as much. I mean, we did the airport about 8 years ago, and that parking lot has never been crack filled. It's never been seal coated. It's just money going down the street if we don't maintain them. I mean, we went to the Elks Club today. You seen theirs was crack filled and seal coated. That's a private small business. I think it's foolish for us to build these nice parking lots and not maintain them. I hope I get your support.
Was there a second? There was a second. Supervisor Gabbard. Did you?
My question is to Chuck. We're $25,000 under our levy limit, correct? So if we put this 50 in, we're over our levy limit?
Well, I think line 17 needs to be correct. Line 17 should say offset by an increase in general fund balance applied. So it would be paid for using fund balance and not added to the levy.
Okay, thank you.
That's just a correction to that language. I'm assuming whoever put this in wanted it that way. Okay.
Okay, repeat that.
It would be, on line 17, it would be offset by an increase in general fund balance applied.
Supervisor Roll.
That's what I was going to say, thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Amendment number 4, remove $20,000 from miscellaneous unclassified budget for the Lake Coordinator Grant. Supervisor Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I elaborate, or you want me to bring it in first?
Bring it in.
Okay, I move for approval of resolution number 4. Thank you. As we all know, Mr. Schneider and myself have been actively pursuing the county executive to get a hold of Alan Beekle, the Fond du Lac County executive, to commit to the formation or the beginning of that for a tri-county agreement. We have not received any response from him. I am hopeful in the future we will receive that response and we can move forward. But until then, if we pass this, this money will be appropriated under a system that does not assure legislative oversight or transparency. That's my concern. As you know, through this whole process, we had issues that went to the district attorney about transparency. I think it's in the minutes from our last committee meeting that That would be the focus of the committee to ensure transparency, legislative oversight. I will say this and my last discussion with Mr. Harris before he left. If we begin and get some commitment from Fond du Lac County, I will be the first to bring this back in for approval pending a legislative tri-county agreement, which will give us legislative oversight and the transparency that comes with it. What I mean is then you would have a committee formed, a tri-county 3 committee. You would have an agenda posted, you would have minutes, etc., open to the public. To me, that's very important. I believe it's important to the majority of our committee, certainly, and that's why I have to bring this forward, hoping this will urge Fond du Lac County to get going on this. Obviously, it's been 6 months since they proposed it, so it's time for them to act on it. Thank you.
Supervisor Rowe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the second consecutive year, I will wholeheartedly support this amendment, and I would request that you recognize the Finance Director to clarify change line 17.
Line 17, the language you should have there is shall be offset by a decrease in general fund balance applied. We're decreasing expense, so we're going to decrease the amount of fund balance that we need to apply.
I certainly accept that amendment.
Can we just do that as a correction? I mean, it's just a... Supervisor Schneider?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, in theory, almost support this. I, again, was the only supervisor down at the lake management update 3 weeks ago in Fond du Lac. I obtained verbal commitments from both Mr. Beekle and Alice Connors from Calumet County that they wanted us at the table. Perhaps that's not good enough for us. We are still, as Chuck mentioned, working to get this tri-county agreement into effect. But I have only one question. What happens if we don't and they decide to go, Calumet and Fond du Lac go it alone? What input will we be allowed, if any, for, I mean, I would think that Winnebago County has twice the amount of shoreline and water acres as either of these other 2 counties. Are they going to allow us input on something that will decide the future of the whole drainage area? Thanks.
If I might respond, Mr.
Go ahead.
As many things, this gets very complicated. They already have the money, and we're talking about the Fox-Wolf Alliance watershed. They have a person that they hired, and that's a nonprofit organization, to begin the coordinator process. And I agree with Tom. They're very experienced. They have a lot of knowledge. When East Central decided not to do it, this tri-county agreement was the answer. They have moved forward. They got money from Calumet County and Fond du Lac County to move forward with paying her salary and starting a process for her to begin to plan for Lake Winnebago. There's the deep involvement right there. To answer Tom's question specifically, Winnebago County will be brought into this, hopefully with transparency and accountability for our taxpayers' money. And the key to getting Winnebago County into the process is a large grant that they're going to apply for. For them to receive that grant, they really need Winnebago County to be part of it. And this is a huge grant, it's about $150,000. To develop a plan is very expensive. So I'm confident that in the future, even if we withdraw this money, that they will come back and accept the tri-county agreement, which they proposed, to move us forward. So I think this is the key to urge them to complete that process.
Supervisor Knitsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Farley, you mentioned we. Who would represent the Winnebago County?
I didn't quite catch that.
I think you used the term we in place of Winnebago County. Who would be on that committee?
Oh, the proposed committee?
Yes.
Well, the proposed tri-county agreement would have this proposed structure. It would be made up of the county executives. Calumet County, of course, would be their administrative person. It would be representatives from the Way on the Waters group, which is a employees formed steering committee. They have a lot of expertise. And then the chairman from each land conservation committee would be on the committee. That would ensure agenda and it would ensure minutes. The purpose of the committee is to have the nonprofit report to the committee their functions and commitment to contractual agreements that would be formed. So that's the oversight committee. The legislative oversight committee would be what I just mentioned.
When would that be initiated?
Just as soon as we get a tri-county agreement, which is a contractual agreement between the three counties.
Thank you.
Supervisor Powers.
Then, do I understand what Supervisor Fari was saying, is that we don't really want to remove or take away the $20,000? We just want to like hold it until they come around and do what they said they were going to do? If we remove it, how do we put it back in when they say, oh, well, yeah, we are going to look at what you want, and we do want you to be a part of it because we do want to apply for this giant grant? So are we removing it or just holding it?
The focus is today to remove it. To bring it back in, that's the term I used, is could be done two ways, by committee or by an individual supervisor bringing it back in by resolution.
But I think when you bring it back in, it has to be a 2/3 vote, not a majority vote like today.
That's true. The vote standard would be a little higher, but hopefully that would be strongly supported.
Thank you, sir.
Supervisor Sher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Fari, just clarify for me.
Yes, sir.
What would be the incentive for them to enter into the tri-county agreement if we aren't a partner in terms of providing cash?
They want us to be a partner very much, and like I say, in order for them to pursue this grant funding, it's very important that Winnebago County be part of this agreement. You see, it's a big lake, and as Mr. Schneider explained, a lot of the lake is within Winnebago County. If the DNR is going to give out that grant, or actually the Army Corps of Engineers, they want to ensure that that plan will cover the entire lake, not just portions of it for Fond du Lac and Calumet County. So that's the key. I'm very confident that they will proceed with it in the future. And I was hopeful that we'd get an email today, and I appreciate Tom's effort. I mean, we've been trying very hard and pushing the county exec and other avenues to get them to just send us an email and say, okay, we're going to start pursuing it. We can't get that commitment, but I'm hopeful we're going to be able to get it in the very near future.
Supervisor Olson.
Thank you. Real quickly, Chuck, has the lake coordinator been hired?
They have a lady that works for the nonprofit, okay, and her name is Jessica. Tom, help me. I'm thinking Schultz.
She's not really the hired lake coordinator that they're looking for? No. Okay. All right, thanks.
Kind of like the study coordinator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Initiate, find people with the right.
So after all this time, the position is still open?
It's open.
Okay, thank you.
Hasn't even been let out.
Okay, we'll vote by our iPad. Vote aye if you approve. If you go along with removing it, vote no if you don't.
Oh, that's fine. Let me see. I thought there was a way that I could. Oh, I canceled everybody. Oops. Sorry. One more time.
You have to vote again.
My bad, sorry.
This is the end, right?
Pardon?
This is the end, right?
Now it's me.
Pardon?
Now it's me.
Now it's
I
you?
got a red light coming on. What's that mean? Please,
That means you tilted it.
I apologize.
Okay, we'll have to, I won't cancel it because we'll have to vote again, but I'll just correct it when we print it. Okay.
Mine won't let me go.
It won't let you go.
It won't let me go. Battery's gone?
Shouldn't be.
I'm getting red light.
We go on to the vote anyway.
Okay.
Mine was incorrect. You can just cancel mine.
I tried that, that's canceled mine and she canceled everything. There you go.
Okay, I got it. All right. It was a battery problem.
Operator problem.
Mine was a brain problem, but I still have to have it canceled.
Okay, I'll correct it. Okay. So yours should be nay?
Mine should be me.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
That is passed. Supervisor, I was gonna, yes.
Also move.
Is that enough, Mr. Bodnar? He moved to approve the budget as
amended.
As amended. That's all we need to do now?
Well, you need to
You gotta vote on it.
Okay.
Voice vote or do you want to?
No, but I mean, that's all we have to, yes, I'm waiting for you.
That's all you have to do.
Finish what you're doing.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to, you can breathe.
Okay.
That is passed.
Hey, you didn't.
All right.
Leave it.
Me either. I don't recall that 14 years.
Supervisor Robel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move that we adjourn until, is it the 18th?
Yes.
The 18th of, at 6
Okay.
PM, yeah.
We are adjourned.
Yep. Oh, yeah.